Chapter 2. The Midnight Ride. The bunker was buried deep beneath the cypress swamps of Florida, hidden under a canopy of moss and night. Inside, the air was recycled and cold. The only light came from a wall of monitors, casting a pale blue glow on the face of the man sitting at the desk. Tucker adjusted his microphone. He was the most watched man in the American zone, a voice that the Atlantic Union had tried to ban, fine, and censor for a decade. They called him a dissonant. He called himself a journalist. Tonight, the studio was quieter than usual. There was no production crew, just him, a technician named Blake, and a direct line to the satellites orbiting in the black void above. "Signal status?" Tucker asked, his voice low. "Starlink is holding," Blake said, his fingers moving across a glass touchpad. "But the Union filters are waking up. They know something happened in Boston. The data traffic out of the Northeast just flatlined." Tucker looked at his phone. It was an old model, stripped of tracking hardware. A single message appeared on the screen. It was not text. It was an image. 2 lanterns. "It's time," Tucker said. "They executed the protocol. The banks are decoupled. If we don't tell the people what is happening in the next 5 minutes, the Union will spin this as a cyber attack. They will declare martial law and shut down the grid. We have encryption for 10 minutes, Blake warned. After that, they triangulate the signal and send a drone strike to this swamp. 10 minutes is all I need," Tucker said. He leaned into the microphone. 3, 2, 1. The on-air light turned a vibrant red. "Good evening," Tucker began. His cadence was familiar, a rhythmic staccato that millions of Americans tuned into every night. "By the time you hear this, your credit chips may not work. The internet as you know it might be dark. You will be told by the authorities in Geneva that this is a system failure. They will tell you it is for your safety. They will lie." He paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. "Tonight, a group of brave men and women in Boston severed the chains. The American zone is no longer a subsidiary of the Atlantic Union. We are, as of this moment, a free republic. But freedom has a cost. The peacekeepers are mobilizing. The drones are fueling. They are coming to take back what they believe they own. They are coming to take you." Tucker leaned closer to the camera lens. "Do not comply. Do not surrender your local resources. Support your governors. The midnight ride is not a man on a horse anymore. It is this signal. It is the truth. Wake up." He cut the feed. "Kill it," Tucker ordered. Blake slammed his hand onto a kill switch. The room went black as the servers powered down. Outside, above the swamp, a sonic boom cracked the sky. A Union surveillance jet screamed overhead, searching for the electronic heartbeat that had just vanished. In Tallahassee, the humidity hung thick over the governor's mansion. The building was a fortress of colonial brick and modern reinforced steel. Governor Ron stood on the balcony, overlooking the darkened lawn. He had flown back from Boston on a hypersonic transport immediately after the drive was inserted. He had to be seen here. He had to be the anchor. A sleek, black, vertical lift aircraft descended onto the lawn, kicking up a storm of leaves and dust. The door opened, and a man in a sharp suit stepped out. It was J.D., the senator from Ohio, representing the Heartland Coalition. Ron walked down the steps to meet him. "Boston is dark," J.D. said, shouting over the whining turbines of the aircraft. "The Union locked down the airspace over New York. Nothing in, nothing out." "We expected that," Ron said, his face unreadable. "What about the supply lines?" "Texas is holding the corridor," J.D. replied. "But the Union is putting pressure on the shipping lanes in the Gulf. They are threatening to blockade the ports." Ron turned to look at the mansion. The windows were shuttered. Security teams in tactical gear roamed the perimeter. "Let them threaten," Ron said. "We have food. We have energy. We have the will. What we need is to make sure the people don't panic." Tucker's broadcast went out, J.D. said, checking a tactical tablet. 70 million views before the feed was cut. The message was received. "But there is a problem." "What kind of problem?" "A Union deputation is heading to the armory in Jacksonville," J.D. said. "They are claiming eminent domain over the heavy munitions. They want to disarm the National Guard before we can mobilize." Ron's expression hardened. This was the spark. The Union didn't want to fight. They wanted a police action. They wanted to confiscate the weapons and arrest the leaders before the sun came up. "Get me General Flynn," Ron said, "and tell the commander in Jacksonville to lock the gates. No one enters, not even the Pope." The Jacksonville Armory was a sprawling complex of concrete bunkers and hangars. Floodlights bathed the asphalt in a stark, artificial daylight. Captain Miller stood at the main gate. He was a young officer, barely 30, but he had served 2 tours in the resource wars overseas. He wore the patch of the Florida Guard on his shoulder. Opposite him, idling in the road, was a convoy of white armored vehicles. They bore the blue globe insignia of the Atlantic Union. A man in a blue beret and a crisp uniform stood by the lead vehicle. He held a megaphone. Captain Miller, the Union officer. Amplified voice echoed off the concrete walls. Under Article 5 of the Atlantic Charter, all heavy ordnance is to be remanded to central custody during a crisis event. Open the gate. Miller stood with his hands resting on his rifle. Behind him, 50 men and women of the Guard stood in formation. They looked nervous. They had families. They had pensions. Defying the Union was not just illegal, it was unthinkable. Until tonight. "We have no crisis event here, Major," Miller shouted back, his voice steady. "My orders come from the governor. The contents of this armory are the property of the state of Florida. The governor is in violation of federal statute," the major replied. "If you do not open this gate, we will be forced to employ neutralization protocols. You have 2 minutes." Miller looked at his sergeant. "Get the EMP cannons online. Target their lead vehicle." "Captain," the sergeant whispered, his face pale. "If we fire on them, that's treason. That's a death sentence. Surrendering our country is a death sentence." Miller said, "Do it." The tension in the air was physical, like the static charge before a lightning strike. The Union major checked his watch. He raised his hand. The turret on the lead armored vehicle began to rotate. It was an automated cannon, capable of shredding the gate and everyone behind it in seconds. Miller didn't blink. He raised his rifle. "Hold the line!" Miller yelled. Suddenly, a roar filled the air. It wasn't gunfire. It was the sound of engines. From the side streets leading to the armory, headlights appeared. Dozens of them, then hundreds. Pickup trucks, SUVs, commercial semi-trucks. They flooded the intersection, blocking the Union convoy from behind and the sides. Men and women stepped out of the vehicles. They were not soldiers. They were mechanics, nurses, teachers, construction workers. They carried hunting rifles, shotguns, and in some cases, just baseball bats. They stood silently, a wall of humanity surrounding the white armored trucks. The Union major spun around, his eyes wide. He was surrounded. He could shoot the soldiers at the gate, but he couldn't massacre 1,000 civilians. The optics would destroy the Union's moral authority instantly. Miller stepped forward. "I think you should turn around, Major. The road is closed." The major looked at the angry sea of faces, illuminated by the high beams of the trucks. He lowered his hand. The turret stopped rotating. "This is a mistake," the major hissed, retreating into his vehicle. "You are making a grave mistake." "We'll see," Miller said. The Union convoy began to reverse, engines whining in protest as they navigated through the parting crowd. A cheer went up from the civilians, a raw, guttural sound of defiance. Miller didn't cheer. He watched the taillights fade into the darkness. He knew they would come back, and next time, they wouldn't send a negotiator. They would send the Reapers. In a high-rise office in Austin, Texas, the lights were off. The skyline of the city was a grid of amber and white, stretching out into the hill country. General Mattis stood by the window. He had arrived from Boston an hour ago. Sitting on the leather couch was Elon, typing rapidly on his laptop. "The Jacksonville standoff is trending," Elon said without looking up. "The algorithm can't suppress it fast enough. The video is everywhere. People are blocking Union depots in Ohio, Tennessee, and Arizona." "It's messy," Mattis said. "Civilians are exposed. We need organized defense." "I'm moving the satellites," Elon said. "I'm creating a localized GPS net for the free states. The Union is trying to jam us, but I'm bouncing the signal through the lower orbit mesh. Our comms will stay up." "Good," Mattis said, because the counterstroke is coming. Mattis walked to the large table in the center of the room. A paper map was spread out on it, an antique in this digital age. He preferred it. It couldn't be hacked. The Union will try to cut the power grid, Mattis said, tracing a line down the center of the continent. They will target the substations. They want us cold and hungry. I have the Tesla batteries in reserve, Elon said. We can keep the hospitals and the command centers running for 3 weeks. After that, we need to have won, Mattis finished. The door opened, and a man in a wheelchair entered. It was Governor Gregg. He looked sharp, focused. The Texas Rangers have secured the border, Gregg said. We have halted all exports to the Union zones. No oil, no gas. If they want to drive their tanks, they can push them. That's a bold move, Elon smiled. Geneva is going to freeze. It's leverage, Gregg said. But we have a situation. We have reports of specialized Union teams inserting into D.C. They aren't trying to take territory. They are hunting. Hunting who? Mattis asked. The architect, Gregg said. They are looking for Don. They know he's the symbol. If they capture him, they parade him on global television, and the morale of this movement collapses. Mattis straightened his coat. Where is he? Mar-a-Lago, Gregg said. He refused to leave. He said he's not hiding in a bunker. Mattis looked at the map, measuring the distance. He's a sitting duck. The Union has amphibious teams in the Caribbean. They can hit that compound from the water. We need to get him out, Elon said, closing his laptop. I have a suborbital transport in Boca Chica. I can have it there in 20 minutes. No, Mattis said. He won't fly. We need to defend the position. We need to make a stand that shows them we aren't afraid. Mattis turned to the governor. Activate the reserves. I'm going to Florida. If they want the boss, they have to go through the Marines. Outside, thunder rolled across the Texas plains. The storm was here. The midnight ride was over. The sun was about to rise on a divided nation. And the first casualties of the new revolution were only hours away.